Hello and welcome to another gameplay review on the Virkayu gameplay channel, and in this one it was basically inevitable that we would have SYLAS Jungle. Now I made a SYLAS Jungle video before Season 13 dropped with predictions that I thought he would become disgusting. Turns out it's way worse than I thought. Disgusting is basically a compliment to the word disgusting. This champion, even though he has a 48% win rate, is destroying every single game he plays. And now you might think, well, what happens in a 40-minute game? I mean, these games aren't getting to 40 minutes. This thing snowballs harder than a Rengar at this point. And with the Dark Harvest rune set on your screen now, plus a Night Harvest attack, you can go Rocket Belt. I foresaw Rocket Belt, that is typically something you would go classically, but the Night Harvester damage coupled with the pseudo electrocute proc on the Night Harvester, coupled with the HP in the build, the penetration in the build, and his disgusting AP scalings, plus the low CDR that he has from all that haste. Oh man, it is a strong package. However, again, it is not something that is played inherently well by the mass population. That's why he has a 48% win rate. But the ban rate is going up, the pick rate is going sky high, and my Zarda GG guide will teach you how to make that 48% win rate into a 53% win rate. That's a 5% swing just by using that Zarda GG guide. Kind of broken if you ask me. Link in the description below. All the best builds, routes, and items for you. Now, what we are seeing here is something that I have chosen on purpose because as we go for the E, red, buff, that should be sums. Oh, Jinx. Jinx is deciding to not waste her sums and instead chuck potions and remain in lane, but she might have to base though. Okay, so that's interesting. Right. I covered on my main channel in terms of, what is the jungle meta? To farm or to gang, to cheese, to not cheese. And I had a SYLAS against the Hecarim, and the SYLAS in that game, and I will link it below, had 7 CS a minute, matched the Hecarim, outganked him, and counterganked him. Now, how does that work exactly? Well, basically that means forcing the enemy jungler to shorten their full clear. Now, against a Talia who's still going to enjoy doing red, raptors, Gromp clears, and so on, basically you would force a Hecarim or other full clearing jungler to kind of cut their clear short, force them out of the jungle, lose that advantage because of your PvP pressure. However, at the same time, I do feel like, the Talia shows up here, no blue, 12 CS, you know exactly what she's doing. They're going to go for the kill on the Mumu with the counter gank after the Krugs by the SYLAS, who's able to get the Q chains onto the Nautilus, and now the Sivir can do the Sivir thing, throwing pizzas across the map to chunk out the Talia. That's what Cheese does well, especially against junglers who might start to feel that pressure that they have to respond. The only downside to this, obviously, is did they cancel the base? He stops to actually cancel his own base because he's afraid of it. This is terrible for him, actually. He should have just seen it through. This is a complete waste of time because we want to make sure we're getting to this side. Now, the Talia most likely is going to reset for these camps here, plus this, and repeat gank bottom lane. So your cheese has downside, right? You can force a jungler into a location, into a reset back into that location, and now you going back to the bottom side here is no bueno. You're not going to do it. So why does SYLAS have this power? Because he could red quadrant, he could blue quadrant, he can red Raptors Gromp, he can blue. I would never do blue red Gromp combos anymore. Honestly, it feels just so weird, and he doesn't really like those ISO singular camps. So don't 5 camp unless you really have to, but if you have to, get a leash, and you can still get on the map early enough, but you get low HP. It's not really something I would recommend. The fact of the matter is, though, due to the new jungle pet changes, and of course the moss number being as broken as it is, although we have a Scorch Claw in this particular game, as we see the Talia, as I said, this is predictable, right? She shows up again with 19 CS at this point, no blue, so we know most likely that's just all minion wave stuff as you press tab and you see her leave. We'll take these tier 2 Raptors. This is where he's stronger. With the pet being what it is, it allows him to farm significantly faster post first rotation. Now, yes, previously we could only basically do like 2 camps before we died. Now we can actually do 5. So that is a good fallback position for us to have. The issue is that before in Season 12, you just could never continue that. It just would stay shit the whole early game. So unless you snowballed through some kind of luck, you could do nothing. Now though, as I showed in that to gank or to farm video on the main channel, if you don't get things early like we do in this particular game, you have that fallback and it gets faster and faster and faster, right? The pet does a lot of work. Now here, good read by the Talia. We kind of knew that. I said that out loud. He decided to go for counter jungling, which is amazing. Tier 2 Raptors, takes a tier 2 Krugs. Did you have an issue with a 20% reduction in counter jungling? No, this is the right play. You got to do it. Couldn't do that with SYLAS before. Now we can. And the amp up time is where we really gain that benefit. First clear is still rough, but when you go from a 2 camping jungler to 5 camping jungler, that's huge, right? We do burn the flash from the AA Trox, who now again decides to stay because of the nature of this wave. We could look to repeat gank it. The Talia is just living on the bottom side here. Now she's going to do her blue and then has come back to the bottom lane. His cheese has caused his bottom lane to go full on Fiesta. This is the Sylas is doing by forcing that rotation, which is why I kind of like, if you want to max the Taliyah, going red Raptors Grump, doing maybe some sort of red Raptors Krugs yourself and then counter ganking it, right? And then of course you can take the Scuttle and then reset and take the blue side. So you kind of preventing what's happening here. At the same time, we decide to go straight back to base. We're going to get ourselves a Phoenix Codex. We're going to make sure we get that kill on the Syndra. We're going to hit that beautiful chains onto the CL, who still has her flash for some weird reason. Q will be up very shortly. I mean, E will be up very shortly, but so will Q, and so will W. Ooh! The gap close on the E chains gives us the gap close on the W chains, which gives us a Q cooldown that had finally come up. So, what are we focusing on? What are we focusing on, and why is Sylas so damn broken? Because he can farm fast enough now to supplement his obscene PvP powers into itemization that allows him to one-shot people without consideration for his own safety, because this sucker right here, 3 points into this right now, goes down to, where am I looking, 5 second, 10 to 5. And he's gonna have haste. So, his last stand abusing nonsense, although we don't actually go last stand, do we? We got booties and cosmic because, hey, that's amazing. Also futures. I would probably recommend futures in general, but having smite up a bit more frequently is nice, but the value of it is significantly lower because we're not looking to upgrade our smite as in Season 12. Excellent control ward here. I love this when you know you're going to force someone to stay on the bottom side. The Taliyah is compromised. We have one more CS than the Taliyah. She's not 6, we're not 6. We're forcing her to play our game, and our game is just obscene snowball potential through itemization and experience advantages such that no one can fight us, and therefore we gain neutral control on the river, which means we gain neutral control in their jungle because that's no longer theirs, it's ours. Which is, you know, he would appreciate that. Now, we should hit 6 from this RNG crab. Taliyah's gonna be like, I don't want my red, but if I go there, I'm dead. So do I go to my red, or do I go bottom side and just try and kill bot lane again? Sylas says, I'm going to scan to make sure I'm not seen. I'll drag it into the bush. If you do show up, you die. If you don't show up, I get Herald, which is more important to me than dragging anyway, because snowball, itemization, damage advantage. And that's the thing, right? If he hits the chains, you will die. If he gets 2 W's off, you will die and he will heal. The AP ratios are obscene, and this little sucker here, obviously, again, don't rush this, right? 25 HP, sorry, 25 AP, 150 health, 35 AP, 10 haste. This is better for your farming, it's better for your rotations, it's better for every single thing you want to do on the map than Hextech Alternator for that first itemization, which is why we still like Blasting 1 overall, right? The damage proc from the Alternator is largely negligible until you start to get more AP, which is why we like to go in that particular order. Aatrox says, hey, can I check to see if you know that you're on the Herald and, oh, you're taking it, can I fight you? You know, Tilly is still level 5 and Aatrox was running away from a Sylas. Now, what jungler is Aatrox running away from other than Sylas? You know, he's normally just going to destroy your entire ancestral line, and you go, wow, Aatrox, fun champion, guys. Yeah, totally. Why haven't we gutted it yet? And in this particular case, there's a little bit of waffling, but who cares? I'm not going to full sequence. I know Tilly is going up to the top side. I know she's going to think about ganking this lane to try get something going. I know she's going to try get 6 on those Krugs. There she is pushing into this horrific lane gank here because Aatrox should have pinged this is warded using the new ping wards, but hey, that's tough to do, right? Top laners, it's tough to just tell your jungler, by the way, bro, this is warded, don't even bother. You're so obsessed with getting a lane gank and a gank that you're just hoping that they don't notice. I see you top laners. Hey, they Mumu ganked mid lane, so that's a thing. We're 6-0-0. Now, people are going to say, well, he got fed on the level 2. No, he didn't. He won sums. Then he did Krugs, then he knew that Taliyah was going to want and try and do things, so he counter-ganked it. That's how he got fed. If you did a red quadrant and did the same thing, or did a blue clear down and did the same thing, it doesn't change anything. The goal of a jungler is to have good impact early and to get fed early. In the meantime, the Taliyah is trying to kill the Yasuo. The bandage toss from it, she does actually kill the Yasuo. The bandage toss hits, the chains of destiny will hit. We do have the Aatrox ultimate as well, and now we can activate the Herald should we just want to infuse ourselves with cash monies for the cause. Again, remember, we got a few more minutes before we have to use it, but look, what do you do when you have a snowballing jungle and you have a lead? You just walk into the jungle. This is the brazen attitude I want to see from your assassins, because let's face it, typically this dude's an AP fighter, but the way we're building him now, he's more of an AP assassin, which is the concern. But a lot of the time is people don't really know how to use the ultimates properly, they don't hit their chains of destiny properly, and they don't play aggro enough to actually to realize the lead that most people gain in the early game just because of how strong it is. Max range Chains of Destiny. I mean, those E's always look like they're going way further than they should, but who am I to argue? There's a Nautilus. That hitbox is wider than, well, yeah. So we could have used the Herald, but again, you're not going to get a lot of game state elevation pre-14. Okay, the reduction of the damage charge, the increase of the resistance in the plates, coupled with the increased gold value means you need like 1.75, 1.8 plates for that to kind of give you a guaranteed first tower, and very rarely are people getting to that because obviously the increased resistance in the plates means the systemic smacking of plates over the first 40 minutes does this damage every single time. So use that rather as pressure for gold infusion into the cores, as Mr. Shelby would appreciate, and then fall back to your dragons. Have a look, probe, can I do something? No? Okay, let me go back to farming. We're at 67 CS versus 51. And if you're saying, well, wait a second, he was farming? Okay, yeah, he was. You just weren't noticing it because he was trying so hard to be active, to invade. And the camps came from counter jungling. They came from just pushing her off buffs. They came from stealing buffs after we saw her go back to base or die. We used the river control to take their stuff, to fall back to our stuff, to, you know, look at this. We're going to go for the E-Flash Chains. The Yoso hits his combo. He does get knocked back into the Rock Lady. He's going to slice and dice. He does get smited. Move behind the minions, man. Will SYLAS block it like a beast, man? Homie. Yes, he will. I almost said hammy. But, you know, I don't know what that is. So we have the Yoso pushing this up. Well, we see RNG Scuttle. Let's snack that as well. Do you see what it takes to make SYLAS work? Can you kind of put a finger on it at this stage? Tick damage doesn't work anymore. Tick damage, 2 ticks from the pet, my friend. 2 ticks from the pet. It's not like yeah, one more. There we go. you got to attack it. We will need to use the Herald, but again, we're not going to bust in any first tower, so let's use it for cash money. And this is kind of funny because the Malphite's like, but I want some. And we're like, no, we're not sharing. Aatrox is kind of low. We're just going to smite him just to make sure we can get that W, and then we'll chains if necessary. We didn't need to. Fall back in here. The Malphite does actually get the gold. It's okay to give it all to yourself, but hey, help him out a little bit. Everybody needs a rock in their life. And as we think about Teth Adam, we have here the Yasuo getting scattered the weak on the bottom lane. See, this mobility is what makes him so strong. You see, this mobility is what made him so fun to play in the jungle. Everyone loved it in Season 9, but the problem is he was a 3-way flex pick. And we used to have like a shield on the E when it hit. And then they said, okay, let's make it a magic shield. And then they realized, okay, that's not good either, so let's just remove it. Because, I mean, it was insane. That's my problem, right? You have the stacking of the passive, which is great for your auto attacks, obviously, right? You must weave those in between your spells. But this is just such a huge, like that's 384, right? And then the health restore is disgusting as well. This is 373. This is 117 and doing a further 244. So all the spells are kind of doing the same amount. And you can steal their ultimates. So it's like you take their ultimates, use it against them, and then you're doing 1,000+ damage every single rotation coupled with your passive, right? We do use a little bit of an EW though to make sure we get that damage off. Important if you're healing, and then you can hit the chains. Obviously, you have your passive in between that. There used to be a time. Can we hit the chains here so he doesn't go back into the tower? Ooh, a small cheeky flash. All right, we're waiting for the W, which it is available, obviously. So I don't know why you would walk in. He has W. Again, like 3-second cooldown now. 4.8, excuse me. 4.8. That's balanced for such a spell. We're out of mana, though. Now, on the discussion of, say, Moss Stomper versus Scorch Claw, go Moss Stomper. It's better for these engages. It's better where you want to kind of 1v9 front line, have some tenacity. Because you being CC'd is the problem. You can't get your W off. Most of the time, if you just have... You know, if you're running Merc Treads, we don't do that anymore. Night Harvester, straight into the Sork Boots, straight into the Zonyas, straight into the Shadow Flame, Void Stuff, Death Cap. Go Death Cap third if you're super far ahead like this one. And then that's just your core itemization, right? That's the order isn't always important, just adapt it to the game you're in. But the Moss Stomper gives you that survivability, the freedom to press all your spells repeatedly, rotation, rotation, rotation. The Scorch Claw just gives you a little bit of burn damage and slow. You don't need the amplification at all. I'm just showing it because... we all know what Moss Stomper does. We all know it's the best on him. Scorch Claw is the one that has significantly weaker win rate, actually. Low play rate, but also weaker win rate. So in terms of data, if I was to look at it, Taliyah's like, okay, I guess I'll go bottom lane again, which is great, but the problem with SYLAS is just saying, all right, don't really care about bot lane because I only care about myself. He's 12-0-0, guys. 12-0-0, and I try to find scenarios whereby the SYLAS will be in a tough situation, but the damage spike with this build is in the harvest stacks, 13 harvest stacks already, plus the proc on this. It's 90 AP, 300 health, 25 haste. We got an extra burst proc electrocute pseudo passive. it's undeniably difficult to handle when he's in your jungle, unless you're having rotational power. So you have to not play his game. You have to do what's good for your path in a way that allows him to not counter jungle you. So when you kind of show bot lane again, he's like, oh, I'll take your Raptors Krugs. You've taken them. Because you want to be able to fall back to your camps, right? So if you've been counter jungled and invaded a lot by a SYLAS, a lot of that's because your pathing is trying to match him. He's forcing you with his cheese and aggressive pathing to gank sooner, to react to cheese. But sometimes just controlling your jungle, mundoing your jungle, right? Just loop it, carfacing your jungle is the better play. We will have Flash W should we need it. We do have Smite. We will have E up again. There we go. There's E1 and there's E2 missing because who cares? Passive twirly whirlies. I mean, we didn't have to do anything. Like, you just look at people and they die. And with 15-0-0, we just look at people and they die. And before, while we couldn't counter jungle this quickly, while we didn't have the fallback on all our camps, we also couldn't solo objectives very well. The pad has been a lifesaver. The change in the jungle, the way the experience and the gold work, the way everything works, the whole system is tailored to SYLAS. And I predicted this. Fortunately, I made a video about it before the patch and said, hey, this is going to be disgusting. And it was, and it is. And it's going to be tough to nerf because you're kind of looking at the win rate going, well, is it that bad? But then you look at this with a good SYLAS and you're like, I don't want to face that. I just don't want to face it. And you're correct. You should either be it or ban it. But then, of course, you're leaving things like Hecarim open, Udyr open. If you're low elo, you don't want to face Rammus and Master Yi. To be honest, no one wants to face Rammus, actually. Yeah. It's a sticky wicket for you guys. You got to pick the most in your respective elo, what you see the most in your sample sizes. Now, obviously, if you see 3 SYLASes in a row, I would start banning it, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to see SYLASes in the next games just to alleviate the frustration of facing the same champion. Like in my flex queue games, I had like 9 out of 10 Nocturnes against me. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, end of season, right? I already stopped playing solo queue, we were doing some flexing. I just saw Nocturne like 9 times out of 10 games, and I just started banning it. I just don't want to see it again. Also because I never saw it in the first place. Right, we're gonna go to the top side here and have the Aatrox. See, I almost did the Jimmy. I finally finished season 6. I have a hole in my life now. Might have to just rewatch Breaking Bad. If you know, you know. Okay. Bottom side here, we have the... I mean, basically what he's done is said, hey, you gank my bot lane. I honestly don't give a toss. I'm going to carry on just invading, taking all your jungle, taking all the objectives. I'm going to kill your Solanins over and over and over and over again. Then I'm going to kill you over and over and over again. And then I'm going to push into your jungle permanently, activate the... Ooh, do we have... No, because Giga Mobility, we have W up. We have... Oh, thank you, Malphite. That's so nice. We're going to steal an ultimate so we can move as necessary. We're going to lock them in place there. That doesn't really do much. It's probably not the ultimate usage we want. But hey, we did stuff. Wait, we still have W and E. We have everything. I can see flash backline here. Oh! Comments below, please. Give it up for Zen Maying a Mumu ultimate. That was nice. He made the plays happen. Although SYLAS could have done that all himself. So if you're in a lower elo game, what do you take away from this? Firstly, you very much could have just flash W, flash E2'd the back line and taken care of business very, very easily with your passive plus Qs. You also learn here that when you have engaged champions like a Malphite, Yasuo, a Mumu, that you don't have to rush in when you're lower cooldown or low HP, no cooldowns and things like this. Leave the fight, wait for them to do the engages, get the CC, and then go in. Because when they CC, they can't attack you. Now you can dish out the damage and now you kill them. So wait, be patient, and don't necessarily just dive in, especially when you don't have Moss Stomper. The Moss Stomper does, even though, you know, through repeated nerfs, it still does a lot. Man, the E range still just shocks me, honestly. 6 seconds, 4 seconds flat, 7.33 seconds. And, like, who cares about the spell? This is just an afterthought almost, isn't it? It's really just about to change the passive and the W and stealing the ults. I know we use it, shut up. But, you know, it just feels like half the time it's an afterthought in the spells. Whereas, once upon a time, we would have to choose between PvP Ws for ganks and things like this, right? Or Q maxes just to be able to farm. Like, you couldn't put multiple points into W. You just had to go Q, or you couldn't clear the jungle. And then obviously they changed it so that you couldn't clear the jungle anyway. So it's nice to be back. I'm glad he's here, but it's specifically not necessarily the champion's overpowered nature. It's the ratio of the numbers in terms of how he synergizes with AP, that when he gets this lead, the safety of the jungle means that it's much easier to pull off cheese strategies, because now, hey, I can try the level 2. I can do a 3 quadrant gank. I can do all of this kind of stuff. It doesn't really bother me as we're going to... I mean, why smite the Baron when you can just take it by yourself? There should be a lot of cleanup here. There we go. A little bit of a twisty. We'll take the crab as well. Over the wall in now. But we're going to look to cut them off. No, I mean, there's no tower. The tower's still here. So, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, look at this. What are we doing in the Night Harvester now? 2,200. We finally have our Shadow Flame. A bit of HP plus penetration is always good. You know, the shielding passive does come in to help. And obviously we have the Zhonya's with 80 AP now. That's also something we didn't talk about. As a Zyra player, we need it. I was okay with them reducing the effectiveness of the stopwatch and the active by increasing the price, so delayed when you got it. But I did love the increase in AP, so I was happy playing a little safer until I got it and then, you know, fisting people with the extra AP. SYLAS benefited. Anyone who builds this, who's a snowballing assassin fighter kind of AP Giga champion, really appreciated that, 100%. So the most important thing for me was river control this game, through the cheese leads, good reads, nothing. Okay, let me do this. I know she's coming down. I'm just going to shadow. That's it. Is it risky? Yes. Could the Taliyah vertical jungle? Yes. But it's highly unlikely she was ever going to do that, because Taliyah also doesn't want AFK farm, and that's where the risk comes in against AFK farmers. But hey, most likely in this particular situation... Is there anything in the game that currently does that from the jungle? I don't think so. I mean, I know we have our Rengars, but he's not exactly popping off. I know Graves is disgusting, but it's not really that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't kill him. You just can't kill him. The Chem Soul map here is kind of strong because we get the shield from the fruits, the plants as well. So, as I said, the mobility plus the raw damage... well, that's pretty cool. I didn't know you could do that. It's really just absolutely insane. And I think the most important lesson for all of you, for SYLAS, if you want to play it, please be aware of which ults you want to steal and which are the best to use and how to use them. I think that's where a lot of things get lost. Just go Moss Stomper to learn the champion and your sort of tolerance for tanking, and then don't AFK farm. Don't 5 camp, 3 camp, you know, maybe max 4 camp. Get on the map, start fighting. You see how quickly we snowball with the Phoenix Codex plus Dark Seal and Boots. It's so inherently potent when you have even a micro lead early. Level 2 cheese. 3 kills, 3 ganks. Now, you will have to adjust your, as I surrender, you will have to adjust your kind of routes for that. You know, if you're against a Hecarim here, he's doing this, and you show up, he'll probably try and do this. But then again, because of the 20% reduction in damage to that, is he going to want to? Because then what you'll do is you'll just take this kind of stuff. If you get a deep ward early, that's such that you see it, you know, then you can do those kinds of things. If you don't want to if you don't want a red cheese, you can always blue side quadrant and just gank bot lane, fall back to the red side, right? It gives you that fallback position. Or if you wanted to kind of, see, it's better on this side, because you could always do, you know, Red Raptors Grump yourself, and then gank bottom lane. Or you could Red Raptors cheese it, at least then you have the fallback of the blue side, and who cares about these Krugs, right? So there's a lot of variations for the early routes you can go. Put them all in my live guide as well, linked below. But yeah, this champion should be free wins for you if you execute with the right mentality. And that is essentially a Rengar assassin mentality. Counter jungle with ferocity, fall back to your camps when necessary, but basically a full sequence, only if there's really a lot of dead time. But in this game, nah. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed and learned something. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe if you did. Main channel has started having daily shorts, so check those out, plus the main channel videos, which are more highly edited, condensed lessons for you. And as always, I will see you all in the next fisting. What it fucking was.